Let's bring in our next guest. He's a former Cougar and international basketball star with extensive playing time in Russia. Our pleasure to welcome Travis Hansen to the Wise Guys as he meanders over to our set and settles in. I'll tell you what, having Travis Hansen on our show in studio is such a big deal for us, and it's happening as we speak. The headphones are on. Here comes the two-shot. Pull the microphone up.
Look how much taller Travis is than me.
He's sitting all the way up.
It's just not right.
How about...
I'm a big boy. I'm twice as big as you.
Travis, pull that microphone under your chin.
I'm at least 2 times.
No, Travis, how tall are you?
6'6".
6'6".
6'6" and shrinking.
So he's not twice my size. I'm shrinking too, by the way.
Hey, how about guys...
He outweighs me, though.
How about guys like Carlos Iglesias? How about guys like that?
The best. Blessing people's lives and making dreams come true for kids in Mali, Africa, and allowing them to come and be with good people and good families and get educated and then hopefully live out their dreams.
You've traveled the world with basketball, and so you've seen countless people from all over the world doing good things for folks, especially for kids in this kind of a dynamic. He's one of them, but there's a lot of them. Makes the world go round, doesn't it?
It makes it fun. It makes me think about all the people in my life who have blessed and made my life better and easier, and they've completely changed my life for the better. They're forces for good.
Yeah.
And it's cool to have Carlos being a force for good around the world, and luckily that force came to BYU this year. Excited to see Caba play.
Did you see that truck he's going to get in right now?
Yeah,
that's going right over the Satakis. That's Kalani's new rig. He hasn't even seen it yet.
That's a royal.
Yeah, we got to see it before Kalani.
That's a monster.
Travis, you didn't grow up like Carlos did in inner city LA. I've known your family forever and ever, and so you grew up in much better circumstances here. Yet you and your wife have done tremendous things. You played overseas and you made contact overseas, and you guys are really involved in making the world a better place as well. So you don't have to come from a impoverished background to get that feeling that you want to help. You guys have certainly done it.
Well, we hope so. I mean, I hope we've done good around the world, and my wife and I mean, it's Jesus, right? It's that light of Christ, or that impression you have to do good, to be kind, to be genuine in your thoughts and your actions. And so, our start off in Moscow, Russia, when my wife was reading Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 and 30, and that mixed with watching a good episode on Oprah. That's a tough mix.
Yeah, you go those two together.
You mix the
Matthew and Oprah.
And we started, she had the impression that we weren't in Russia just for basketball, that we were there to do some good. And so we looked and acted and prayed and asked people if we could do good, and what good could we do, and how could we be a part of it. And so it's following that intuition and those promptings that we all get.
We're going to talk a lot about Russia and basketball and your influence there, and about this Russian kid that's coming our way. But before we get to that, we're sitting here on June 10th. We've talked about BYU basketball more in May and June than we have ever talked about it in our entire life. What has this period of transition been like for you as an observer who is an investor in the program, having played here?
Well, I mean, you go back to 2020, 2021 when Pope came over, and everyone was pretty excited about the prospects of Mark Pope being able to continue the amazing success that Coach Dave Rose brought in. I mean, Dave Rose is one of my heroes and one of the best coaches that I think's ever existed. And Pope, had a crazy good team, and then COVID happened. Oh, I wish we could have seen that team.
Oh, that team. I feel like that was an Elite Eight type team, don't you think, with the leadership and the shooting and
top 4 teams to ever play BYU.
Yeah.
But couldn't see what they were able to do. And then Pope, took some criticism with the NIL. He came out publicly and said NIL is everything, and we need to make it a main focus. And people weren't ready. I wasn't ready to pay a student athlete. I wasn't ready for them to get compensated. I thought it would take the purity out of the sport and why we all play. And he was right. Pope was right. The NIL is important, and that's the future of the game. And I, even like 60 days ago, I remember being on a couple calls, trying to advise some young talents in Europe, and I was just shocked that the NCAA game, all men's basketball programs, within the last 60 days, are competing with the EuroLeague. That the G League is obsolete as far as compensation in kids development. It means something, but besides, if you want to go make money, be compensated to play, you are NBA, NCAAs, or EuroLeague, and the NCAAs and EuroLeague are equal and parallel in their competition to land talent.
And he's the first. Travis, the first one to really talk about the impact on professional basketball on the show, and you're the first one I've heard really talk about that anywhere, because it really is. NCAA basketball is now professional basketball. These guys are making what professional athletes make, right? It's
100%.
With a caveat, of course, that they've got to be in school. But it is professional basketball. And you're okay with that now? Is that okay with you?
I'm learning to adapt and continue to accept of what's happening. It makes it just more exciting. I think it's fun. Yeah. I love the game. I love how the game changes. I love how, in basketball, it's so fun because one coach can be a really big zone guy and another one a really big man guy, and they can both be successful in their own methods. And I think this new wave of innovation and kind of this professional type a game coming to the NCAAs, I just think it's going to be so fun to see what happens and to see the kids continue to have success.
Go back to the moment you get word that Mark Pope's leaving and everyone's jumping in the portal to where we sit tonight, Kevin Young and the staff that he's put together and the kids he's attracted and convinced to come back in some cases. Are you just amazed that all of this has happened in the time it took the Mavericks and Celtics to go from the first round to the NBA Finals?
Shocking. Unbelievable. And credit goes to I would even go farther back, leaving the WCC and going into the Big 12.
Yeah.
How amazed and happy I am, and I think most fans are, of first year in the Big 12, how every athletic team has competed and performed. And I give credit to the athletic department. I think Tom Homo and Chad Lewis and Brian Santiago and Liz have just completely done a phenomenal job at, and they're elite and they're world class at what they do. I give credit to Kevin Wordland and Shane Reese and Keith on empowering and giving autonomy to them to do their jobs, because everyone was prepared, and that takes a ton of work, and everyone performed, and everyone knows it takes a ton of work to get people to perform at such a high level. And so I'm very, very excited and happy and pleased and grateful for leadership that we have over at BYU.
Never before has BYU and the NBA been mentioned in the same sentence at this level since Kevin Young's been on. They keep talking about the connections and the NBA this and the NBA that, and NBA guys are going to come up and work out, and Kevin's saying we're going to get guys to the NBA. Where do you think Kevin Young can take this program? Do his ties to international basketball and to the NBA open up a recruiting bucket that maybe wasn't open before to bring some guys here that are big-time NBA prospects?
Well, I think back in the day it was so hard because Australia had a pretty good pipeline with St. Mary's, and Europe had a pipeline with a few different schools. Gonzaga was pretty good at it, but it was all borderline. Is it legal? Can you really bring a kid over? What exactly is happening? And no one really knew. Mm-hmm. And now it's a pretty even playing field where these young talents can come over and they can compete. And then also Kevin Young is different.
How so?
This is a guy that he's from Georgia, and he's a D2 kid, and he's had to play and had to fight and had to scrap, and it wasn't easy to get to the league. You got to start off. You're not an assistant coach on the bench. You might not even be assistant coach behind the bench. You got to drive the buses and the cars, and you got long road trips, and it's not a chartered plane, and you got to earn your keep, and you got to be really good at every aspect of your job. If it's director of operations, you better be really good. If it's video analytics or video coordinator, you better be really good. And his was development. Mm-hmm. And you don't last in the best league in the world unless you're elite at development. And you don't last in the best league in the world unless you're incredible at communication. And these young talents, you talk about Devin Booker and KD, they're incredible. And so unless you can communicate your method and how you're going to make them better and how you're going to develop them in real time, they'll get bored and they won't be engaged. And he's elite at communication, and he's elite at development. And he spent, 15, 16, 17 years doing this?
Yeah.
And so this is a guy that came to BYU with 17, 18 years of experience, of relationships, and of skills, and that's what you're seeing.
Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus. Brady Plus has over 150 distribution facilities across the U.S. with approximately 6,000 employees. They provide cleaning, food service, and packaging supplies. And we're visiting with former Cougar and EuroLeague star Travis Hansen. It's been a minute since BYU had a player from Europe. Might have to go back to Timo Saralainen in 1985. But here comes Egor Demin from Russia, 18-year-old NBA lottery projection for next spring. So, so much for low expectations. He's committed to BYU, still working on the paperwork. But what does this kid bring to the team?
Size, skill, IQ, the ability to disrupt and completely destroy a defense no matter what schemes and methods and blitzes and calls you throw at him. He's been well coached. His parents both played basketball, a highly intelligent, capable, passionate family. And they've made really, really good choices with his development. He's been surrounded by really, really incredible athletes, but incredible coaches throughout. And so they made the decision to move him from Moscow to Madrid at a young age, which was not easy. And he's been playing on the junior team, the under-18 national junior team of Real Madrid, the best club in all of Europe.
Which you played for, by the way, coming from Russia to Real Madrid.
Iconic, ambition, passion. It's just unbelievable type of culture that you're a part of. It's a winning culture. And so Egor Demin is the real deal. He's an incredible talent, and that's what scouts see. They see as a potential top 3, top 5 lottery pick because of his size, size, skills, and IQ.
He might be surprised at how many BYU students speak Russian when he gets here. Do you think that'll turn his head a little bit and go, wait a second, how do you guys speak Russian?
He'll love it. He'll love it. He'll feel at home. We were on the call a couple of days ago, and I said, man, how come you didn't pick somewhere where you could go to the beach? And he says, isn't Provo like Russia? Isn't it like snow? I said, yeah, we have lots of snow. He said, I love the snow. Why would I go to the beach?
Nice.
This is like going home for me.
This is great.
I'm going to be going to home. I absolutely love the snow, and all I'm going to do is play basketball. I'm going to be in school, which people don't realize at Real Madrid, if you're playing on a professional team, you don't go to school and all you do is play basketball. But if you play on the under-18 junior team, you are at school all day long and you play a little bit of basketball.
Really?
So this is a kid that's been, cooped up at school, more academics than athletics, that he can't wait to come because now it'll be more balanced. He'll have 12, 15 credits, and then the rest of the time he'll be able to hoop it up. And so he's a caged animal waiting to get over here.
It sounds like he comes with a ton of discipline behind him, though. Like I would think he would fit really well into this environment based on what he's done.
Yeah, he's been really well developed in his family. His parents are awesome, and he's just had really good people around him. And Real Madrid does not mess around unless you're a top talent. You better be a top talent if they're going to bring you in their program and help develop you and spend time with you.
How is your Russian in your conversation? Do you still have enough to speak to him in Russian, or how's his English?
His English is perfect.
Really?
His Spanish is even better.
That's what I was going to ask. So he speaks Spanish as well, having been in Madrid for a while?
Oh, yeah. His Spanish is fantastic, and then he speaks Russian. Я говорю по-русски не очень хорошо. So I speak some pretty good Russian, but
we
definitely go to Spanish and English when my vocabulary.
You can literally have
out.
A conversation with him in 3 languages. Then
are you better in Spanish, Russian?
Spanish.
You're better in Spanish. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but your Russian. Hey, that brings me to this. So in 2008. Vladimir Putin gives you Russian citizenship, a red passport, would have allowed you to play for Russia in the 2008 Beijing Olympics, but you decided not to do it. What happened with that? Why not?
Well, I did go we did train in Italy with the national team. So it was me and Sergei Monia and Andrei Karolinko with our head coach was David Blatt from the Cleveland Cavaliers as our national team coach. And so we went and trained. And at the very end, you know, I'm American.
Yeah.
You know,
what a choice to make. No one gets to have to make that choice, and you did. It's like, what the heck? You could.
I'm USA through and through, and I'm grateful for Russia, and they treated me good, and the people there, and they're making some really nasty, hard, tough political decisions right now with Ukraine. It's super sad because we have friends on both sides, and it's tough when your politicians and leadership make really tough choices that affect everybody. They treated me and my family fantastic. But we are, I'm from Mapleton.
Yeah.
You know, I'm from Orem, but I live in Mapleton. I mean, we are American through and through, and I got a 500 by 500 foot American flag in my house. I mean, we just
putting on the Russian Federation jersey just wasn't going to do it.
Couldn't do it. I love them, but no, we're American through and through, and at the very end, you had to pull out.
Hey, compare Russian basketball with American hoops. How do the styles compare, especially with these younger players? And we'll see one here when he gets here.
Now, we got to make sure we're saying his name right because we were thinking it was Igor.
Yegor?
Yegor?
Yegor.
Dinham.
It's
a little quick. Yeah.
Dinham.
Yegor
Dinham. We'll be the only ones getting it right now.
What's the different style between these American and Russian basketball players, especially these young kids?
What's the difference between American and European basketball, basically, is what you're asking?
I guess so, yeah. I'm like he's going to come having played over there forever. What will folks notice different?
I think Carlos said it pretty good about Keba. Is the African kids, the American kids are just more physically talented. They have more physical attributes. European kids and Russian kids that are well coached and been in really good programs, which there's a lot of them over there, their IQ is off the charts. They don't have the physical attributes that they can default or lay on, and when things get rough, they can't bully their way to the hoop. They have to learn how to play the game the right way. They have to learn to use their shoulders, angles, pick and roll mainly to create their advantage. Whether it's a post up, they're looking for advantages constantly and looking for reads. And so they're just smarter on how they play. They're just incredible talents, and they're better shooters because they have to be.
And aren't we seeing that in the NBA now with the new wave of stars?
I think so.
So when you get, because Yegor, like I've watched him on tape, he's pretty athletic. I mean, at that length, he'll go down and he finishes at the rim and just throwing it on people's heads. So when you combine that with the background he's had, and then you get somebody that is a little more skilled than the average kid, is that what turns into something special? Because certainly Jokic and these guys are not from Russia, but they're from Eastern Europe. Jokic and Doncic and these guys, they're also very physically gifted, especially for their size.
Yeah, I would say they have the advantage of 20, 30, 40 years of history of seeing that at some point there's someone more athletic than you. It's like when I went to Atlanta Hawks, get drafted by Atlanta, show up in Atlanta. We go to practice, and everyone's kind of messing around dunking. And I go down, I throw a 360. I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah, I'm athletic. And then it seemed like everybody else on the roster threw down a 720. It's like almost everybody, and no one really told me that, hey, at some point your athleticism, there's going to be someone bigger and stronger and more athletic. And from the very beginning in Europe, they tell them there's people way more talented, way more physical, way more. So the only way you're going to survive in this game is if your IQ is off the charts, you make the right reads, you can run pick and roll, and you can hold your own on defense. And so to even survive and even be able to play in the EuroLeague, you have to have some type of, rudimentary understanding of how to play the game the right way.
How would a young Travis Hansen in his prime match up against Egor, who is in his prime, in a matchup at the Marriott Center? Would you hold your own?
We just talked about this, actually. I think it was his dad, Vladimir. His mom's named Natalia, and his dad's Vladimir. And I said, how'd workout go yesterday? It was Saturday. And he said, good. I worked out with Danny Green, former San Antonio Spur in L.A., and he's got a bunch of workouts going. And I said, you a better shooter than Danny? Oh, yeah, I'm a better shooter than Danny. I said, but Danny's old, bro. Of course you got to be a better shooter. And he said, yeah, Trav, that's true. He's old, man. I said, what about me and you? Who's better? And Vladimir goes, I'll answer that. He said, Travis was tougher. He was more grit, nastier, but Egor more talent. so
Thanks, Dad.
Yep, it's probably true.
Did he nail it? Vladimir nailed it.
Oh yeah, Egor is 6'9" and so much more skilled, and just has more size than I have. But he's got to learn to be physical and nasty, and it's mostly mental. So we'll work with him as he continues to
some
progress
road
in that
venues
side.
in the Big 12 will be good for him to
good for him.
deal with some of that. When we think of Russian players at the Marriott Center, you go back to 1980, the Soviet national team comes in. You were 2. I was at the game. I'm not sure. I think I was a couple of years older. I just remember it. Danny Ainge and those guys were the first college team to beat them. And who knew Russia would play such a major part in your future, far, far away from Provo. And now it's kind of come back around again with their star player coming over. Could you have mapped that out for yourself as a teenager looking ahead?
Absolutely not. I wanted to run a business and kind of be a teacher. I just wanted to be around student athletes or kids, and we didn't even think we'd play professional basketball. So playing in the NBA and traveling around the world is just kind of how life goes, and you just work hard, and sometimes good things happen, and sometimes incredible things. And so, it's like I met my wife on the steps of the UVU Institute of Religion building. I was going down to UVU practice and saw this really
because you were at UVU before you came to BYU.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, I was working out with the team and just got off my mission, probably 60 days off my mission, going down to practice. I see this cute blonde going up the steps. Ran into her 7 more times before I had the guts to ask her out.
Yeah.
And changed my life when we finally went on dates and ended up getting married. So we traveled around the world. We moved 15 times in 23 years of marriage, and we moved back home. There's a nice poem that says, I traveled around the world in search of what I need and came home to find it. And we just love Utah, and we're so grateful. I'm so grateful for BYU and all my friends over there. And then I'm over just trying to be a good person and progress in the gospel, and we get called to serve back in the stake presidency at UVU Institute of Religion on the same steps where I met her.
Nice.
And so again, whether it's basketball with Egor, a small world, or the gospel, it is a pretty small world.
We had a quote. We do a quote of the week every week. I can't remember who it is this week, but a couple weeks ago that said, "Life is what happens while you're making other plans."
Yeah.
That sounds like that applies to your life.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We wanted to talk a little bit about Frank Arnold. He was the head coach of the team that beat the Russians that Dave just mentioned. Frank Arnold passed away over the weekend. He was 89. He won 137 games over 8 seasons at BYU. He had that phenomenal team that went to the Elite Eight in 1981 with Danny and the gang. How do you hope Cougar fans remember Frank Arnold?
Innovator, genuinely kind. I'm almost describing his son Gib and all his kids, just good people that love the game of basketball. I mean, talk about a killer squad. I mean, that Frank put together. I mean, it wasn't just that they won and went to the Elite Eight. It was Gib recruiting all those guys. I mean, think of what was it? Greg Kite, Roberts,
Greg,
Danny
Freddie,
Ainge,
and Danny played I don't know how many years in the NBA.
Balif.
It's all pro guys.
Yeah.
I think
all pro guys.
Didn't all 5 guys play professional for
when
many years?
The first 3 you mentioned, Greg and Freddie and Danny played
10, 12, 15 years?
like 30 plus years
Each.
combined in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's just not regular NBA guys. That's career NBA guys. Most college basketball teams today don't have 3 NBA guys that are going to play 10 years.
That's different. And then you had Trumbo and Runia who played, and
Overseas.
Runia could have played longer.
Oh, yeah.
And Trumbo became a star over
I'm convinced
there.
that
Met his
if-
wife
if-
and changed his life.
in
over there.
Barcelona.
If Steve
Yeah.
wanted to have a role and play in the NBA and just say, just let me go get 15 boards a game, I think somebody would, but he wanted to do what he did. He chose to go do that. I think he could have made his way on a roster in the NBA just a rebound.
Yeah, and so I think you look at these coaches and think, okay, what's their record? What did their players do, not only together but post, after their playing days are done, and then what's your coaching tree look like? And so just that team alone, what Coach Arnold was able to put together is legend status.
Yeah, people ask us all the time, the most talented team in BYU history, and I always go, woo, let's go right back to that one. And for what happened afterward, I mean, there's been some phenomenal ones. The one that you just mentioned a little bit ago that didn't get to play during the COVID year was a really talented so many good teams have come through, but just pure talent. That was an amazing team that Coach Arnold put together.
Yeah, I look at some of the teams. We've had some amazing teams in Cleveland, Rose, Liddell Anderson, Roger Reed era, Arnold area, and then even Pope. And I like to look at it like what they accomplished, but also what did those players do afterwards?
Yeah. We just had Jeff Chapman stay with us. His girls were here at Elite Camp, and they stayed with us for a couple of days. I think about that team with Michael Smith and Jeff and Andy, and man, there's been some talent that has come through this program that's been really fun to watch.
Did you come prepared with your homework assignment that I sent you?
Cereal. My dad said you guys.
No, not your cereal.
no,
We've already done that one. Remember we did that. So Travis Hansen's with us on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus. You started 71 games during your BYU career, averaged 13.2 and 4.8 rebounds, played in 2 NCAA tournaments. All of that makes you an expert at revealing the top 5 basketball teams of all time at BYU. Remember, that was your homework assignment.
Top 5 teams.
So we'll go 5
number 1's easy.
to 1. Let's go 5 to 1. And by the way,
and we can, you know what?
Your tournament teams that you played on, you were on a very fun, very talented couple of teams.
Yeah.
The Marriott Center had 22,000 fans in there just going nuts.
Yeah, I would say, what year was that? 2000, 2001 would be my number 5.
Yeah.
Terrell Lede, Trent Whiting, McKelly Wesley. I mean, just what they were able to accomplish, during that season after. I mean, they can play. They were really good. It'd be tough to beat those guys.
Yeah.
Talk about physical. You talk about Egor has to get more physical. When I think physical, McKelly Wesley comes right in my head.
I don't know if there's been a more European big guy than McKelly. His ability to draw fouls and IQ and hit that top of the key shot. McKelly was so good.
Yeah.
Wasn't that? And last time you were on, we talked about it a little bit. Just to lighten up the Marriott Center against the Utes. Was there any better feeling for you as a player?
Never.
It's just awesome, wasn't it?
Never.
Just awesome. I remember those games. It's like you were a rock star down there.
So
and that's you were also a surfer and had your beach hair and this and that, and just put on a show. And then people still love you for that.
Anytime you can beat the Utes, especially at home or at their place, was a good day. I remember even playing against one player. I don't want to say his name because I really like him and love him. But he was shooting a free throw. I said, "Man, Marriott Center, 22,000 people. Hope you're not stressed out." Air ball. I'm like, bro, come on, man. He's like, dude, you're scaring me.
It's like a scene out of Hoosiers. So you went right in there, got in his head.
I don't know how anybody can shoot a free throw into that student section in the second half of games now with all that nonsense going on behind there.
That's nuts.
I know you got to be focused, but it's distracting.
It's tough. Mental game.
And there's numbers to bear it out. Having that student section there, teams do not shoot as well in the second half against BYU into that as they do in the first half.
I told Egor this. I love you no matter what. You can play wherever you want. We'll cheer you on. I want what's best for you and your family. But I've played, man, I think about every good arena in the world. Played in the NBA, played in all the arenas. Played in Europe, played in all the arenas. Played in college. Besides playing at Duke, although I've been there, I mean, it's a pretty special place. Played in all the arenas. Or been to all the arenas and seen games. I promise I don't think there's anything better than the Marriott Center. So but if you come here or don't come here, you better know the thing's sold out and fans are coming. And so why not? And by the way, we never had a 6'9" point guard in the history of BYU basketball. But
that's true.
There's no place like the Marriott Center to play, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I've never been anywhere that's better than the Marriott Center.
It's been really interesting for Dave and I doing this Big 12 package for ESPN Plus to talk to opposing coaches. Especially after they just go, hey, we're the Big 12. Like even the existing teams, we're the Big 12. This place is unique and special in all of college basketball. They recognize that.
It's different.
Kemery Martin of the women's basketball team is going to join us in just a couple of moments. We're finishing up with Travis Hansen. So number 5 is the 2000-2001. What about number 4 of the best basketball teams in BYU history?
Oh, man, I don't know. There's so many good teams. I'd probably say I really liked Pope's last year. or his first year. I think that COVID year with Haas and Jake Toulson and Yoli, I think they're really special. I would have liked to see what they would have accomplished, and I'm willing to bet they would have won at least 1 or 2 games in the NCAA tournament. They're too veteran, too smart. They've been in my house, and TJ and Tyler and Jake Toulson playing, and they're really, really, really special players. Yeah, I can't imagine them not being able to go deep into the NCAA.
Yeah, that was a shame.
Now you're down to 3.
So now that's 5 and 4.
Third one would be, which team went to the second round of the NCAAs Jimmer's year?
Jimmer to the Sweet 16 and lost to Florida.
Or the year before that.
That'd be number 2. I think the year before that they were really good too.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that. I don't want to give them 2 years in a row, but they probably deserve it.
Really?
I want to go with like Liddell Anderson, 81 when they went to the second round, or
Mike Smith's group was pretty good, knocking on the door of number 1.
Smith's group.
We were talking to Coach Cleveland and to Coach Rose. They've both been in here, and they both talked about those 2 years with Jimmer, and how going to the tournament was learning, and then to go and win a game, they learned, and then that's what allowed him that last year with Jimmer and that whole group to go to the Sweet 16 and lose in overtime to Florida without Brandon Davies. That was a Final Four team maybe with Brandon, but
is the world ready for Jimmer Mania at the Olympics?
I hope so.
Can he capture it? And all of America already knows who he is.
I hope so. I love him. He's such a good player and a good person. I'm glad he got invited. I'm glad he's still killing it out there.
Yeah, he's coming in next week, right? Isn't Jimmer coming next week? Yeah.
It's been all over the world doing
so
that.
you're saying Jimmer Sweet 16 for number 2.
Man, the Mike
back-to-back Jimmers.
That Mike Smith team, that Devin Durant team.
Do you
Roger Reed had a good team. Liddell Anderson. I mean, I just don't know those teams
Isn't it the Chapman Michael Smith team that went? Like they started out their shoots, I can't remember, 19 or something like that. They were number 2 in the country. They lost on the road to UAB.
Yep.
But that was a really talented team. And I can't remember what year that was.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But they're up in there in the top 10. So who's your one?
I think it was 88, 89, something like that.
Who's your number 1?
Number 2 is Jimmer Sweet 16.
Right.
Number 2 is Danny.
Number 1 is
number 1 is Danny.
1981.
And Danny gets all the credit for it. But gracious, you got Greg Kite and Fred Roberts on your backcourt or your front court. Gracious, Danny. I mean, come on. And then you got Runia, and you got they could play Trumbo.
Yeah, they had some guys. Freddie, I think like Freddie's skill set, because Fred's like 6'10", 6'11", and he was a rim. He could run the floor. He could put the ball on the floor. He could defend 1 through 5. Like, he's one of the most underrated players that have ever played here, in my opinion. Fred is.
Yeah, I look at Fred and I look at Greg Kite, and you look at their mass, their physicality, and then you look at that jawbone, which is just, you can tell he's mean. And I look at Fred Roberts, I'm thinking, I could hit him 10 times, and I think he's still coming at me. I don't think he cares. He probably likes it. It probably just makes him mad.
Yeah.
Here's a random one. In your visits with Vladimir Demin, does Vladimir still know, or did he ever know of Krešimir Ćosić over there?
100%.
Really?
Yep.
Isn't it amazing, Krešimir's reach, even after all this time?
It's legendary. I don't know anyone that's really, really into basketball in Europe that doesn't know who Krešimir Ćosić is. There's so much respect for Serbian and Croatian players and all that they bring. All the legendary coaches have come from Serbia and Croatia, and many legendary players. But all the main heavy hitter coaches are born and bred in Serbia and Croatia.
What are your expectations for Egor? With the hype before he's even got here, and you know him and have had a chance to visit with him, November 5th, be out on the floor against Central Arkansas. What are we going to see?
I think the best thing about some of these young talents is when you don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows what he can turn into. I don't think we know. I don't think anyone knows. I think the talent and the skills are there. The work ethic's there. The foundation at Real Madrid is there. And so I don't know. I just hope he has a killer experience and he builds amazing relationships, and we can support him and just hopefully momentum. I just care less. The more older I am, care less about the wins and losses, and care more about the momentum of his career, and also just all our sports programs. As long as the momentum's looking good, and as soon as it's not, it's almost like I want to jump in and help support him so we can turn him around. But my expectation for Egor is that he reaches his dream and ends up being a top draft pick and has a long career in the NBA. And so the longer he stays at BYU and in development, I think the better for his career.
Everybody's talking one and done. Is there a chance that he comes and really loves the development he's had and stays another year to participate in that longer?
Yeah, that'll be a decision for him and his family, and we want to respect that. But they're really smart, and they know it's going to be a really critical step to once you get to the league, you got to perform. And who knows if you have first round picks have 3 years, but do you have really 2 to really show that you can play? And so they're going to need to be able to ensure that they're ready. And I think the only attribute, it looks like size and skill wise and ability is there. I would say just the strength. How long does it take him to get that strength in place that he can, last a 82 season in the NBA? So that would be the only holdback.
And you played in that league. Now, the Big 12 is, we discovered really quickly, one of the most physical leagues in all of college basketball, but it's still a gigantic jump in terms of physicality from the Big 12 to the NBA. You played in the NBA. What's the difference between playing the NCAA and playing in the NBA from a physical perspective?
High school is just a whole nother level. So you're jumping from like a 1 to a 10, and then high school to college, 1 to 10. And another just a full 10 type scale.
It's that big of a jump again.
Yeah, that much more talent, that's much more physicality, that much more size, that much more speed on their closeout, that's much more less room because the length and the space of where you're trying to penetrate. There is some different rules in the NBA that help you a little bit, but in reality, the jump is immense. The other piece is the endurance of the league. I mean, it's just you're going to play 3-4x games in a season than you've ever played, and so that is mostly mental. It's a little bit physical too, but it's mostly a mental side. And so being able to get ready on the mental side is more and more critical. The older I get, what you consume, what you watch, and what you listen to, and who you're around with really matters. It seems like as I've gotten older, it even matters even more. And so with these young kids, what they watch and what they listen to and who they're around just really matters. And so could he leave a little earlier if he landed with the Spurs because it's such a mature organization that'll take care of him, they know how to develop? Yes. Yeah. If he leaves earlier and gets drafted by a club that's not as mature, not as organized, is not as, he could have some trouble. And so we got to take all those things into account.
The great Travis Hansen, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your insights from overseas and from down the road. And of course, we've watched you play, called your games. We're just glad that you're part of our life. Thanks for coming.
You guys are the best. Cougar Nation for life.
We appreciate it, brother.
Isn't it good? Isn't life good?
Give your family my love. They're the best.
Every day's a gift. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. And Carlos Iglesias is still with us. So he's Caba's guardian. So are you going to be Egor's? Are you going to be in charge of Egor when he gets out here?
You going to be his dad over here?
You gonna take that on?
I got 5 kids. I got too much responsibility already. I mean, Vladimir. I will be Vladimir's. All right, I call him Vladimir because that's his dad's name. Yeah. Vladimir Jr. I will be Egor's fan and advisor.
He's his guidance counselor.
That's good. Guidance counselor.
He's Egor's guidance counselor.
I'm happy to help all the kids at BYU. I love them all.
When you were just describing the difference and all those things in the NBA. I don't know why. In my head, I flashed, man, now I really have even more respect for John Stockton. How did somebody with his stature play that many years at that level? Like, he has to mentally and physically just be so, it's crazy.
It's the difference. Like, when you look at Egor, you look at Luka, how do you teach the killer mentality? How do you teach the non-emotional? Yeah. Jimmer had this. Jimmer wasn't real emotional, but he was just a killer inside. How do you teach someone to mentally just be locked in all through their career and after every possession? And John Stockton had that mentality, man. He was tough.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. Thanks so much, Travis.
Thank you.
We'll see you at the Marriott Center. We'll feel like it's just around the corner here by the time we get there. Travis Hansen with us here on the Wise Guys. Awesome stuff.